Hello and welcome to StudyIQ. In this video of StudyIQ, I will bring to you the second part of the banking awareness from May 2017. Please note that this is the second part. And if you have not seen the first part, first make sure that you watch the part 1 because that consisted of lot of conceptual topics. And in this, I will cover the banking awareness from the last 10 days mostly. And a lot of information is factual, but a lot of it is conceptual also. And if you do both of these videos, you can be very confident in the banking awareness for May 2017. And if you want to buy any of our pen drive courses, these are available for RBI grade B and for IBPS PO. RBI grade B consists both of phase 1 and phase 2. That is the number that you need to call 95800480004 or 7291059476. So here we go. India to hold India Mobile Congress from September 27 to September 29 of this year, that is 2017, and this was informed by the Minister of Communication with independent charge. His name is Manoj Sinha. He is also the Minister of State for Railways, but we are not concerned with railways here. We are only concerned with his role as the Minister of Communication with independent charge. Now another thing, why are we conducting our own mobile congress, that is the India Mobile Congress? That is because we feel there is a vacuum in India because there is no such type of event in India. For example, if you take a look at the Western countries, then they have the Barcelona Mobile World Congress, which has already happened for this year in February. And if you talk about the Eastern countries, then China conducts its own very big Shanghai Mobile World Congress. So India felt that it is not able to attract too much investment in telecom and manufacturing, and therefore it needs an event of its own. And that is where the concept of India Mobile Congress came into the picture. So this year, September 27 to 29, 2017, we will be conducting India Mobile Congress in India. Now let's talk about Reserve Bank of India. So Reserve Bank of India has said that it will soon introduce currency notes of 1 rupee denomination. Now Reserve Bank of India was not printing 1 rupee note for a while, and I'll tell you the full history of 1 rupee note. And now it will soon start in printing the 1 rupee denomination notes. The thing to note here is that the 1 rupee note, it is the only note. It is the only note that is published by or printed by the government of India. Now the Reserve Bank of India wants to do it because 1 rupee note does not have the signature of Governor of Reserve Bank of India for this very reason, that 1 rupee note traditionally has been printed by the government of India, and therefore it bears the signature of the Secretary of the Ministry of Finance. Although Secretary of Ministry of Finance right now is Ashok Lavasa, but please note that this 1 rupee note will be signed by the Economic Affairs Secretary. Economic Affairs Secretary is Shaktikant Das. But let me tell you something very latest. Just yesterday, Shaktikant Das has his tenure is over. Now he has been replaced by Mr. Tapan Ray. Mr. Tapan Ray is the new Economic Affairs Secretary, and therefore most likely the new 1 rupee note, because Shaktikant Das is now retired as Economic Affairs Secretary, so it will bear the signature of Tapan Ray. And please also note that the old notes will remain valid. So this is not demonetization, but the old notes will remain legal tender. So, and these notes will be printed, these notes have been printed by Government of India under the Coinage Act of 2011, which is very latest. Now, what is the speciality of this new 1 rupee note? Apart from the fact that it will not be signed by Minister of Finance or Finance Secretary, Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, but it will be signed by the Economic Affairs Secretary, who is now Tapan Ray. So something special is that, firstly, it will have a color scheme of pink and green. So pink, as you know, it is already very popular because 2000 rupee note was in pink color. So pink and green will be the main color. Of course, there will be other colors also, which will be in much smaller, quantity. And this note will have the signature of, the Economic Affairs Secretary. Right now, it is not Shaktikant Das. He has retired yesterday. So make it Tapan Ray. So, and it will be bilingual in both the languages, Hindi and English. The new 1 rupee note will also have the words Government of India written, and in Hindi also, Bharat Sarkar. And it will also have the logo of the rupee. You can see here the rupee logo, and Satyamev Jayate will also be written on the note. Now one more thing, This note will have the picture of the oil exploration platform of India, which is there in Maharashtra. The name is Sagar Samrat. So beautiful picture of Sagar Samrat will be there, and there will be a digit inset letter in capital, that will be L. It will also be printed on the note. And apart from this, Ashoka pillar will also be there, a hidden number 1, and the hidden word Bharat. Bharat is Hindi of India, so will also be printed on the note. Now, what are the dimensions of the note? So the 500 and 1000 rupee note that was demonetized, and in replacement we had the 500 new note and 2000 rupee note. Their dimension has also been asked in the exam. So the new 1 rupee note will have dimension 9.7 by 8.3 centimeter. These are the dimensions of the note. Now please note that in January 2015, the government of India felt that it needs to reprint the rupee 1 note because there was a shortage of coins in India. So the government started actually reprinting of 1 rupee note after 1994. So it was after 21 years that the government started printing rupee 1 note because of the shortage of the coin. And then they stopped for a while, and now again they have started. They will start printing. They have not confirmed any date, but it will be in this year only. And please note that the 1 rupee note that will be published or printed, its cost will be 94 paisa. That is the printing cost of the note. See, note is very, very, very costly to print. So that expenditure you also have to take into account. And forming a coin is much cheaper. So the 1 rupee coin, it cost only 70 paisa to manufacture. But the note, it will take 94 paisa to print it. Now the 1 rupee note, let me tell you some history about it so that you become confident. The 1 rupee note, it had been in circulation for decades, but it was discontinued in 1994. So the government of India stopped printing 1 rupee note because it was very expensive to produce these notes compared to the 1 rupee coin. 1 rupee coin was much cheaper, so the coins were more in circulation compared to the note. And in 1 year later, that is in 1995, 2 rupee and 5 rupee notes were also discontinued. Government stopped printing 2 rupee notes also and 5 rupee notes also because again the printing costs were very high, and also the fact that the printing facility in India those days were not very much in quantity. Their locations were limited, and so government wanted to free up some of the printing facilities for printing higher denomination notes like 10 rupee, 20 rupee, 100 rupee and so on. And also note that the 1 rupee, 2 rupee and 5 rupee notes, although they were discontinued, 1 rupee note was discontinued in 1994 and 2 and 5 rupee notes were discontinued in 1995. But till date they are legal. Okay, they are still legal. They are not demonetized and they are not replaced by other notes. They are still legal. So although you might find that such notes might be soiled or very dirty, but still they are in circulation and they are still valid. Now one more thing that I told you that the 1 rupee note that will be published, it will have the Sagar Samrat, which is our oil exploration platform photo. Now 2000 rupee note that was in circulation, new note, pink color note, it has the photo of Mangalyaan. And 1 rupee note will have Sagar Samrat photo. So Mangalyaan is our what you call the mission to Mars, that shuttle, beautiful shuttle. So this is Mangalyaan. And also look here, can you see there are 7 lines here, 7 horizontal lines. These are slightly raised for visually impaired, so that a visually impaired person can also touch the note and feel these 7 lines and get to know that this is a 2000 rupee note. Similarly, the new 500 rupee note, it has the photo of Red Fort and it has 5 lines, not 7. So if you see here, this is for the visually impaired. It has the 5 lines so that a visually impaired person can also get to know which note it is. Now let's talk about Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion. So Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion will now give the licenses, grant the licenses for defense manufacturing. See, we have a very strong defense, right? And for defense, we need to manufacture a lot of things, a lot of weapons, a lot of other things. And for manufacturing of those items, we issue auctions or we issue various bids and we grant licenses to various companies. For example, you must have heard that Reliance recently won one huge bid from defense. So these licenses are granted by the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, that is DIPP. But for the past few months, the Home Ministry was carrying out this exercise. But now the Home Ministry has said that it is very busy with some other commitments, and therefore this job of granting defense manufacturing licenses is again taken up by the DIPP. And DIPP basically it works under the Commerce and Industry Ministry, and our ministry, Commerce and Industry Minister is Nirmala Sitharaman. She is our Commerce and Industry Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman. So DIPP is basically, the job of DIPP is, it is mainly responsible for formulation of policies with regard to promotion of foreign investment and manufacturing industry. So how to bring more FDI, how to up our manufacturing sector, all this is job of Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion. Now please note that DIPP, it was first established in 1995 and then it was reconstituted in 2000, year 2000. Reconstituted means when the number of members are changed, they are increased, that all comes under reconstitution. So it was reconstituted in the year 2000, 5 years after it was established, and then it was merged with the Department of Industrial Development, and now it is called Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion. Now another big announcement with respect to DIPP. They have changed the definition of a startup. So you know this startup culture we are having in India. What is the definition of a startup? See, any new business is a startup. So for example, in 2014 December, I started StudyIQ, and therefore this is a startup. Now there are certain differences, although like for example, you know, the businessman, the word we use is entrepreneurs, and this process is called entrepreneurship. So basically a startup is a new system, it's a new business, and government needs to give lot of boost to these startups because these are responsible for wealth creation. If startups won't be there, then we will not have wealth creation in India. For example, the companies which are ruling the world right now, Facebook, Google, you know, Twitter, Microsoft, all these companies, they are all based out of America. And let me give you one figure, for example. You know, if you start any business, you will need to do digital marketing for any business, not just a new business. Now, 20% of all the digital expenditure of the world was on just Facebook and Google in 2016, which means that 20% of the digital wealth, that is the digital advertisement wealth, was eaten up by these two American companies, and therefore they are like a magnet. They are attracting the foreign exchange in America. So America is becoming richer because of these companies. So we need to have our own Facebook, we need to have our own Google. Only then we'll be able to match the global standards, and we will be able to attract wealth in India. So therefore government started something known as Startup India. This was started by Narendra Modi on 16th of January 2016 to build basically a strong ecosystem for nurturing innovation and startups in the country, and to drive economic growth and generate employment opportunities also. Now, in order to promote entrepreneurship in the country, the government of India has amended the definition of a startup. So what is a startup? Yes, it's a new business. But the thing is, let's say I start a new business. So it will take me some time to, that is called the gestation period. Basically that time that is necessary for a business to mature, for a business to go to the next level, for a business to, you know, take that giant leap. So that is called the gestation period. And usually it is larger because the competition is getting stiffer. We are now globalized economy, much more liberalized than we were ever before, and therefore the gestation period needs to increase. So taking all that into account, the age of a startup has been increased by the government. So earlier, you know, till 5 years you could call it a startup. Now till 7 years you could call it a startup. From the date of registration, okay, till 7 years, the number of years has been increased from 5 to 7 for a normal startup. And the startups in the biotechnology sector, because the biotechnology sector requires more time for maturing because it has a lot of research and development and things like that. So biotechnology sector, the period shall be up to 10 years from the date of registration. So I repeat, age of startup has been increased from 5 years to 7 years for a normal startup, and for a sector, biotech sector, it has been increased from 5 years to 10 years. So keep that in mind. Another thing, now for startup you don't require any letter of recommendation, LOR, from an incubator or industry association like previously. So if you want to avail tax benefits for a startup, you don't need any letter of recommendations because you know, we need to register our startup if we want to take tax benefits under the Startup India scheme, but we don't need any letter of recommendations now. And also you know, a lot of other things will be taken into account, like for example, how many jobs the startups are creating. because joblessness is one feature of the Indian economic growth. We are having a jobless growth. So the potential of job creation of a startup, wealth creation of a startup, and scalability of business. Scalability of business means, how soon or what is the potential in that startup, whether it can achieve big numbers in a small amount of time. All that shows the scalability. So the scope of definition of how to define a startup will also encapsulate these parameters. Now let's come to the Brand Finance 2017 report. Which is India's most valuable brand and which is India's most powerful brand? These are two important questions. So the most valuable brand of India is Tata Sons, what we call Tata, as simple as that. This is the parent company, Tata, and then the offshoots of this are Tata Motors, Tata Steel, and all that. So Tata is the most valuable brand in India. If we talk about only the value, okay, value is always tangible, please note. Okay, that is why we have given figures to it. So this report was given by Brand Finance, and it basically judged India's 100 most valuable brands. So Tata Group is the most valuable brand in India. Its valuation is around 85,000 crore or $13.1 billion. And the second most valuable brand in India is Bharti Airtel with a valuation of 7.7 billion. Life Insurance Corporation, the largest insurance company of India, it is third with $6.8 billion. Infosys, which had been in news for all the wrong reasons recently, it was fourth with $6.2 billion. And State Bank of India, the largest bank of India, the largest lender, it is fifth with a valuation of $5.5 billion. Please note that Indian Tobacco Company, it is the most powerful brand in India. I'm not saying it is the most valuable brand in India, but it is the most powerful brand in India. So don't get confused between most valuable brand and most powerful brand. Indian Tobacco Company was founded by Mr. Y.C. Deveshwar. Mr. Y.C. Deveshwar. And it has lot of products. Like for example, it is into FMCG sector, fast moving consumer goods, Ashirwad Atta, Sunfeast biscuits, all of these are ITC products. Then it is into hotels, ITC Moria, ITC Sheraton. It is into BD and cigarettes business mostly. So there are a lot of businesses of ITC. Keep that in mind. Now next, Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited. Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited is the is our Sarkari telecom company, the government telecom company. BSNL and MTNL, these are the two telecom companies owned by the government of India. So BSNL has teamed up with Facebook and MobiKwik. Now Facebook, Facebook is a giant. Now Facebook wants to offer Wi-Fi in India, and it has already launched its project, which is called Express Wi-Fi program, and it has launched it in 700 locations in India. 700 hotspots have been created for same. And BSNL will facilitate connectivity. That is, BSNL has good network and that will help Facebook's Express Wi-Fi program. Now please note that Facebook has not only partnered with BSNL, but it has also partnered with Airtel. So it has partnered with a public sector company also and a private sector company also for their Express Wi-Fi program. And so BSNL has partnered with Facebook for what? Express Wi-Fi program. Why it has partnered with MobiKwik? So MobiKwik is a mobile wallet, just like Paytm. It is a fintech enterprise, and therefore MobiKwik will help BSNL to make their own wallet, which is the BSNL mobile wallet. And not only that, BSNL has also partnered with a third company, which is Disneyland India, because all those people who have BSNL telecom connection can now play Disneyland games. So for online gaming services to its mobile customers, BSNL has tied up with Disneyland India. And as I said, Facebook has partnered with BSNL also and Airtel also for their Express Wi-Fi, which has been launched commercially in India, and it has already been launched in a lot of other countries like African countries, for example. And in India, they want to give this very high-speed Wi-Fi with the help of 700 hotspots in 4 states of India. So now they have this sort of a pilot project in 4 states: Uttarakhand, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Meghalaya. And of course, if their experience is good, then they will scale it up to the entire country. And Facebook, we know its CEO is Mark Zuckerberg. Now let's talk about GST. So previously we had a lot of taxes. We had entertainment tax, excise tax, and VAT, and everything. Now all the taxes have been replaced with one tax. So you can say all the taxes have been subsumed. The word we use is subsumed by GST, goods and services tax. So goods and services tax has been in news, and I'm sure you must have seen a lot of videos about it already. So I'll cover what is important from the exam point of view. So our revenue secretary in the Ministry of Finance is Hasmukh Adhia, and he says that because of the implementation of GST, there will be 4% more GDP growth. This is his projection. This is the projection of the government of India. Although you can say that, yeah, government of India kind of, overestimates the GDP potential of India, but what they say is important, and therefore 4% more GDP growth we can expect after GST implementation. And all the decisions regarding GST are taken by a separate organization or consortium, which is called GST Council. And this was their 14th meeting. This also remember, 14th meeting of GST Council. It took place in the capital of Jammu and Kashmir, which is Srinagar, and decision was made like what is the goods and services tax on 1211 goods and services total. So 1211 goods and services. It has been decided what will be the goods and services tax on these, and the maximum amount of goods and services has been kept. They have been kept at 18%. 43% of 1200 goods and services will be at 18%. 19% of goods and services 28%. 17% of goods and services will be taxed at 12%, and 14% of goods and services will be taxed at 5%. And GST, it's an indirect tax, and there are some items which have been exempt from the list, like milk, like fruits, cereals. So this is one way to bring the inflation down on the common products, like day-to-day products that everybody uses and which directly affect the poor man of this country. So that you need to know. 14%, 17%, 19% of goods and services. What is the rate? So this is the slab: 5, 12, 18 and 28. And 28 is a lot of tax, but it is only on 19% of goods. Maximum goods are there in the 18% bracket. So which goods will become costly, which goods will become cheaper? So for example, household items like sugar, tea, coffee, edible oil, they will attract only 5% tax. And cereals and milk, as I said, will be exempted. So will be fruits. So they are expected to become cheaper. And manufactured goods will attract 18% levy. Now luxury cars are really going to be costly, because first of all they have 28% GST. They are in the slab of 28%, and on top of that they have a 15% cess. So total 43%. Just add these up, 28 plus 15. So 43% extra tax on luxury cars. They will surely be very costly. In fact, the companies like Maruti and a lot of other companies, they have raised their concerns. And small petrol cars will attract over total 29, that is 28% GST plus 1% cess. Diesel car 28% tax plus 3% cess. Capital goods will be taxed at 28%. So capital goods, they are a very important component of the manufacturing sector. Now please note that it has been seen that in all the countries which had applied a similar sort of tax system, initially there is always a loss for some time. So if states feel that there is a lot of GST, what they say, GST compensation cess will be there. So for example, the states will collect the tax, but usually in the first few years the collection is less, and it has been seen world over. In whichever countries the GST like system is there, we have the tax collection in the initial years is low. So what the government has done, that the states will lose some money. For example, VAT won't be there, entertainment tax won't be there, octroi won't be there, and during implementation of GST also, because look, to implement GST is a big task, and I'll tell you why. So all this will be met through something known as GST compensation cess. So government will put extra cess on luxury items, as we have seen, luxury cars and luxury goods, and sin goods. So sin goods are like tobacco, and these are the sin goods. So for the first 5 years, there will be GST compensation cess. And there are various slabs for GST compensation cess. There is no one size fit all kind of thing for all the luxury items and sin goods. It is different for different items. That is basically to compensate any tax loss, any revenue loss due to abolition of various other taxes that the GST has subsumed. Now, based on the recommendation of the fitment panel, there were 2 slabs available for the services sector, 12 and 18, but they have chosen 18 for now. So please note that previously we used to pay 15%. That was the effective tax rate on all the services. Now a lot of services, most of the services in fact are in the 18% bracket. So most of the services are going to become costlier. Like banking, for example, it will become costlier. However, one good thing is that the essential services like healthcare, education, these are what you call the negative list of essential services. So healthcare, education, they will be exempt. They will basically not come under GST. So keep that in mind. They will not come under GST. Now, what will be the impact on FMCG sector? Fast moving consumer goods. Fast moving consumer goods is your daily what you use, shampoo, soap and toothpaste, and all these are FMCG. So hair oil, toothpaste and soap, they will be taxed at 18% under GST, significantly lower because right now we are paying almost 28%. That is the effective rate of indirect tax that we are paying on these items. But some products like detergent, shampoo will become costlier because they are kept in the 28% slab, whereas hair oil, toothpaste and soap are in the 18% slab. So that is one of the criticism of FMCG, of GST. Now, for example, it is so difficult to implement because within one category like FMCG, some products are becoming costlier, some products are becoming cheaper, some products are kept in some other slab, some products are being kept in some other. So there will be a lot of analytics, lot of analytical data. So government needs to make sure that it is well versed with big data and it has all the mechanisms in place to make sure that all this data can be utilized in the most efficient manner. This is one of the criticisms of FMCG, that it will be very difficult to implement given the shortcomings in our bureaucracy also. Now this is one very important thing. Right now we are paying, the effective tax rate on coal is 11.7%, but under GST it has been kept in 5% slab. So definitely, and most of the power that is produced in India is still on coal. So therefore in the coming days, power will definitely be cheaper, electricity will be cheaper. Now GST, there are many categories, on which the GST Council is yet to decide what will be the GST rate. For example, biodiesel, BD and cigarettes. So BD and cigarette is what you call the smokable tobacco. Tobacco is of two types. One is the chewable tobacco. Chewable tobacco is your pan masala, gutka and all this. And BD and cigarette is the smokable tobacco. Then on footwear, shoes and all, textile, agricultural implements, the paraphernalia that is used to run agriculture, and gold, very important. These are the 6 categories. Government has not decided the GST rate yet. And in the future meetings of the GST Council, it will be decided. Now the GST would replace so many taxes. It has made the system so, so simple. And this was also one of the recommendations of the International Monetary Fund to India, that please make your tax reforms, your priority. So please expedite the entire process. So these are the tax. So for example, these are the taxes which are levied and they are also collected by the center, like central excise duty, like duties of excise, additional duties of excise for goods and special importance, additional duties of excise for goods of special importance, for textiles and textile products. Service tax won't be there now. Then SAD, that is the special additional duty of custom. Then you have the additional duty of custom, which is known as CVD. All these taxes will not be there. They are levied by the center and they are also collected by the center. Now there are some state taxes also that are subsumed under the GST. They are abolished, like the state VAT. This is very important. So VAT won't be there. So states were crying like anything. But then Arun Jaitley, because of his statesmanship, he was able to bring the opposition parties on common platform, and he told them that yes, initially there might be some loss, but then if you see, your revenues will not go down, at least in the long term. So then central sale tax won't be there, then luxury tax, entry tax, and entertainment and amusement tax. This is very important. Entertainment tax is huge source of revenue for the state. Then taxes on advertisements and purchase tax on lottery, betting, gambling, etc. All these taxes now won't be there. Now one more thing, like for example, if some states feel that the revenue, the tax collection is significantly shorter, so it can put its own taxes also. So states are permitted to levy any new taxes because the taxation power of states has only been restricted. It has not been abolished after the rollout of GST. Because had they abolished the taxation power of the states would not have complied. The states would not have come on board, and this bill would not have been passed. So this is a kind of, again, a criticism of GST. That, for example, if I take example of Haryana. Now, if Haryana government feels that the entertainment tax was a huge source of revenue and now there is no entertainment tax, there is no VAT, we are getting less revenue, it starts putting its own taxes on people. So again, I mean, the entire purpose of GST fails. So they should have made the powers much more restricted than what it is now. This is one of the criticisms of the GST, that states still have the power to levy any new taxes. Now let's talk about a very important thing that we are noticing in the recent years, which is the disinvestment. Now what is disinvestment? Now let's say there is a 100 crore rupee company. Okay, I want to buy, I have 1 crore rupees. So I go to the company and I buy 1% stake in the company. That is called investment, right? Now I have 1% of the company. So my friend comes to me and says, please sell this to me. So I sell him for 1.5 crore, making a profit of 50 lakh rupees. So I have disinvested. Basically, when you invest in a company, you buy its stake and you can sell its stake. That is called disinvestment or divestment. So now what we are noticing is that in the year, for example, 2016-17, the year that has just been concluded on 31st of March, the government raised 46,247 crore rupees through disinvestment only. This amount is the highest in the history of India. So never before in the history did the government raise this much amount. But and look at the target for this year. The target which has been given by DIPAM, that is the concerned ministry, is 72,500 crore. That is the target for this fiscal, that is 2017-18, financial year 2018. We have to raise 72,500 crore only through disinvestment in this fiscal. So the government is under pressure, and now the new year has started. The first disinvestment is in the company NALCO, which is called the National Aluminium Company Limited. Now please note, it is a Navratan company. So all these companies like Maharatan, Navratan, Mini Ratan and all these, they are the public sector companies, government companies. And the NALCO company, it is under the Ministry of Mines, MINES, Ministry of Mines. So the government diluted its 9.2% stake in the company, and government has raised 1200 crore rupees by divesting 9.2% of the paid up capital in National Aluminium Company Limited. And now the government stake after selling 9.2% stake is 65.37%. So the government still has a very good stake, which is 65.37% in NALCO. Now one thing you remember is that government cannot go below this. Like for example, let's say there is a company called ABC and the government has 100% stake in the company. Now the government wants to raise money. Government is short of cash. It wants to, let's say, reduce the fiscal deficit. So the government decides we need some capital, so let's disinvest in the company ABC. And government cannot sell 53% to a company, because if the government sells 53%, of course government is selling to a private company. Then the private company will own 53% and the government will only own 47%. So no more it is a public sector company now. It has become a private company now. So below, like 51%, that is the limit. Government cannot go below this, even when it wants to disinvest. And please note that the department for the same is called DIPAM. And initially it was not called DIPAM, it was called the Department of Disinvestment, because it came into existence on December the 10th, 1999, and it is under the Ministry of Finance since 2004. So 5 years after this department was established to carry out a very specific task, which is to sell the stakes of government in the government-owned companies. And this comes under Ministry of Finance. And in 2016, it is only last year that Department of Disinvestment was renamed as the Department of Investment and Public Asset Management to broaden its scope basically. And it was called the Department of DIPAM. Now let's talk about a committee that was constituted by the government. This is called the Dinesh Sharma Committee. Dinesh Sharma he's a special secretary in the Economic Affairs Department. And basically, RBI was concerned that virtual currency is there and a lot of people are investing in virtual currency. What is the protection? What is the security? What is the consumer protection mechanism that these virtual currencies have? Virtual currencies are also called digital currency, cryptocurrency, there are a lot of names. So they formed a committee. It was a 9-member committee. It is this committee has been told to give a report within 3 months, and this is called the Dinesh Sharma Committee. So this committee is regarding, you have to do all the investigation. You have to analyze the present status of the virtual currency in India and globally. You also have to examine the regulatory and legal framework with respect to virtual currency. You have to take special steps, suggest measures on how we can protect consumers, how we can protect money laundering, how we can prevent money laundering, and everything related to virtual currency. Now there are a lot of virtual currencies available like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Darkcoin, Peercoin, Dogcoin and Primecoin and all that. So keep these in mind. This will be useful for your descriptive writing. Now let's talk about licensing. So licensing is one industry in India that has not realized its potential. It is a $1 billion industry. Estimated valuation is $1 billion industry. But it is still into the nascent stages in India. It is still in its infancy. So India is organizing something known as India Licensing Expo. This will be organized in the financial capital of India, Mumbai, from 20th to 21st of August 2017. This will be India's first and most influential brand licensing event that will have all the people with special expertise in this field, and it will provide a lot of collaboration opportunities, knowledge sharing, etc. And this expo will be organized by License India, which is India's first licensing media services company, and it is supported by Franchise India. Now let's talk about a very important phenomena by which Reserve Bank of India tries to do some good to the banks which are plagued by the non-performing assets, bad loans and so on. It is called prompt corrective action. See, corrective action, we know what is corrective action. If something is wrong, we make it right. That is called corrective action. And prompt word means fast. So the Reserve Bank of India, what it wants to do is, if there is a bank which is struggling, it wants to take quick action for as a remedial measure to undo the wrongs that the bank has done. That is called prompt corrective action. And it is not like prompt corrective action was not there earlier, but now it has been made more stringent. There has been revised PCA framework, revised prompt corrective action framework, and it will be effective from April 1, 2017. It has been effective already, because till March 31, 2017, the government has asked for the financials of all the banks, and based on that, this framework will be applied. So retrospectively, it has been applied April 1st, 2017. And one thing I forgot to tell you, that GST will be applied from 1st of July 2017. Now please note that prompt corrective action is what? So for example, there are three levels of what you call a diseased bank, so to say. Now for example, first level is, for example, if the non-performing assets touch 6% of the 6%. Then third level is if the non-performing assets, they exceed 12%, like that. So the bank, it takes some action here, it takes some action here. That is, there are three layers in prompt corrective action. So prompt corrective action is what? It is basically a sort of a recovering plan to infuse a new lease of life in a bank that is struggling. And also please note that bank can take a lot of action. One is called the mandatory action and one is called the discretionary action against the bank. So what happens is, for example, I'll give an example. Let's say IDBI Bank, which is the worst bank in India right now in terms of non-performing assets. Its non-performing assets have touched 15% right now. And IDBI Bank, let's say it is making huge losses, right? So it wants to say that, it says, I want to open 100 more branches. So should the Reserve Bank of India let IDBI open 100 more branches? No, because it is already making huge losses. So lot of things, Reserve Bank of India, lot of restrictions it can impose on IDBI. Like for example, it can put a cap on the loan limit that the IDBI can give to the consumer. On deposit limit, it can prevent IDBI from opening new branches. It can also discard the incentives that are given to the directors of this bank. So it can also stop the bank's profits if they make any, from getting into the bank. So a lot of these are restrictions. So basically, prompt corrective action is the restriction that the Reserve Bank of India puts on the bank. Keep that in mind. Now I'll tell you how it works. So prompt corrective action is taken when the Reserve Bank of India says enough is enough. That is when there is a risk threshold that has been breached by the bank. And there are three risk thresholds, as I told, three layer. So these are based on certain levels of asset quality, profitability, capital, etc., non-performing assets, etc. So for example, the third limit is reached when the bank's non-performing assets, they exceed 12%. And the negative return on assets for 4 consecutive years. That is the return on assets of the bank. It becomes negative and it happens for 4 years in a row. And the non-performing assets, they are over 12%. Then we say that the final level of the tolerance has been breached. So level 1, level 2 and level 3. And what are the types of restrictions that the Reserve Bank of India can put? So there are two types of restrictions. One is the mandatory. Mandatory means this will happen. And discretionary is the one that will be based on the discretion. Like they will take a call whether to take this type of action or not. So I'll give an example. Mandatory are ones like, for example, restrictions on dividend. Dividend is the profit. Branch expansion, so banks cannot open more branches. Banks' profit will not be shared with the banks. Directors' compensation will be done away with. These are all mandatory restrictions. But discretionary restrictions are of two types. When you put a cap on the lending ability of a bank, that is, the bank cannot give more than this much loan to a party, or the bank cannot accept this much deposit. So the decrease in the lending and deposit limit is what you call the discretionary action. Right now, the prompt corrective action has been taken against only two banks. One is the IDBI Bank and one is the UCO Bank. Even UCO Bank, it is headquartered in Kolkata and its non-performing assets are touching 13%. So you can see the limit is breached. And one other criteria for limit breach is negative return on assets for 4 consecutive years. So these are the two banks against which prompt corrective action has been taken. First bank was the IDBI Bank and second bank was the UCO Bank. But let me tell you something very, very latest. As on 30th of May, the Reserve Bank of India has said that there are 10 more banks. There are a lot of banks which are doing really, really bad, like Indian Overseas Bank, Bank of Maharashtra, Dena Bank. They are doing extremely bad. So the government will start prompt corrective action on 10 more banks. Although whether it will start on 10 or less than 10, the number is not sure. But yes, it has said that 10 banks, they are judging. They are in the process of, judging whether those banks should be under the PCA framework or not. But 2 banks, they have already started the action, PCA action, IDBI Bank and UCO Bank. So what next? Basically, the prompt corrective action is what? To make sure that the bank does a U-turn and there is a new lease of life that is infused into the bank. But a lot of time this does not work. Now let me give you an example. Indian Overseas Bank, the prompt corrective action was taken in 2015 and still it is making huge losses, in fact larger than ever. So this is just one of the mechanisms by which RBI tries to do something good to the bank, but it is not like every time it works. Now let's talk about a very, very important part, which is the Foreign Direct Investment, FDI, and Foreign Investment Promotion Board. So there is something known as Foreign Investment Promotion Board. I'll come to it much later. First, let me tell you what is FDI, Foreign Direct Investment. So for example, I'm an Australian company. I want to invest in my headquarter will be somewhere in Australia, Canberra, Adelaide or Brisbane, wherever, Sydney. Now I want to invest in India. So if a company from some other country invests in its non-native country, that is called Foreign Direct Investment. Now please note that foreign direct investment, when it happens, then this company which is investing will acquire some control. Now that control can be in the term of ownership, or that can be in the form of controlling of interest in the company in which it is investing. So this Australian company will invest in India, and in return it will get some control over the enterprise in which it is investing. So keep that in mind, FDI. Now FDI investment is of 2 types. One is the greenfield. So just remember it, green means tree, like we grow a new tree. So greenfield investment is like, for example, if an Australian company is investing 1000 crore rupees in India, it is investing in a completely new enterprise. It is opening its new office, new venture it is starting. That is a greenfield investment. So when a parent company is the company that is a foreign company, it begins a new company or a new venture by constructing new facilities in a country outside of where the company is headquartered, or in a new country, that is called a greenfield investment. But let's say there is a company from Australia, it is investing 1000 crore in another company in India that is already present. There is an existing facility. So that is a brownfield investment. Now there are advantages and disadvantages of a greenfield investment, brownfield investment. For example, a lot of companies, they prefer greenfield investment because they have their own plans, they have their own mode of operation, and they believe that if we they are basically they don't want to share their knowledge with the host country's company. They don't want to share their technology, because if they do brownfield investment, then they will have to do knowledge sharing. They will have to cooperate with the company in which it is investing. And but there is a disadvantage also. Like greenfield investment, for example, the company is on its own now in a new country, so it might not know the local culture, the local environment, local ecosystem, local businesses, and therefore it is a disadvantage. Now in brownfield investment, again there is a advantage and disadvantage. Major disadvantage is that in brownfield investment, the company in which the foreign company is investing, it already has a certain way of operation, it has a certain design, and the new design might not match with the old design. That is a disadvantage. Also, you have to do cooperation with the new company, new country, and advantage is that you can get the local knowledge from the company which is already present in that country. So there are all types of advantages and disadvantages. Now there are 2 routes. One is the automatic route, and by this route the foreign direct investment is allowed without prior approval by government or Reserve Bank of India. This is very, very important. For example, if an Australian company wants to invest 1000 crore rupees in agriculture, it does not require the permission of Reserve Bank of India or the government of India. That is automatic route. In agriculture, you don't need to even think. You don't need to ask the government, right? That is automatic route, right? But there are some sectors in which which are very sensitive. In those sectors, we can't simply allow any company to invest. That is called the government route or the approval route. You have to take permission of the government. So a prior approval by the government is needed by this route. That is called the government route. Now some sectors, these are some sectors in India, in which 100% FDI is allowed by automatic route. So for example, agriculture is there, plantation crops is there, airports. Now in airports, both greenfield and brownfield. So airports. So for example, if a foreign company wants to open its own airport, most welcome. If it wants to invest in the already existing airport, most welcome. Both greenfield and brownfield, we have. And then in pharma, but in pharma 100% FDI is only in greenfield. It is not there in brownfield. Then if we want to explore oil and natural gas, there is 100% FDI by automatic route. So this list is not exhaustive, but it has all the major sectors. Now there are some sectors in which you require approval route. You have to go through the approval route or the government route. You need the permission of the government, like defense, for example. We can't let just any random company invest in our defense of the country. Similarly, satellites, similarly print media, similarly banking, similarly telecom. So again, this list is not exhaustive. In fact, let me tell you, there are 11 sectors right now in India which require permission of the government or FDI from the approval route. There are 11 sectors like defense, etc. For example, satellite. Now, for example, if a Chinese company comes to India, it invests in satellite and makes its satellite which spies on India. So, I mean, there are all kinds of concern which the government takes into account, and these are the sectors in which you have to take the permission of the government. Total, there are 11 such sectors. Now, what is Foreign Investment Promotion Board? Look at the word. The definition is in the word foreign investment promotion. So the idea behind Foreign Investment Promotion Board is that it wants to attract the foreign investment. It gives clearances, single window clearances for applications on FDI that are under the approval route. See, it has nothing to do with the automatic route. Please keep that in mind, because automatic route, we don't need the permission of anyone, let alone Foreign Investment Promotion Board. It is only in the approval route or the government route that we require FIPB. So FIPB gives the permission, yes or no, to a company. Now FIPB, it is housed, or it was housed as we speak, because it is no more there. It is abolished now. Okay. So after 25 years of its existence, it is abolished now. FIPB is housed under the Department of Economic Affairs. That is, it comes under the Ministry of Finance. Now FIPB, it is an interministerial body. What is the meaning of interministerial body? Interministerial body means that it has the ministers or secretaries from various verticals, various ministries. Like for example, Secretary to Government, Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance is the chairperson of the FIPB. Then you have Secretary to Government from the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, DIPP. You also have Secretary from the Department of Commerce, from the Ministry of Commerce. You also have the Secretary to Government from Economic. So lot of ministries, they participate. Lot of secretaries to government from various ministries are a part of FIPB, and therefore we call it a interministerial body. Now please note that FIPB, I told you that it comes under Ministry of Finance, and Ministry of Finance is headed by a Finance Minister, Arun Jaitley, right? So who will have the final say? It is the Finance Minister. So for example, there are a lot of secretaries here. Some say yes, some say no. Who will take the final call? It is the Minister of Finance. Arun Jaitley will have the final authority. But please note that FIPB has jurisdiction till 5,000 crores. That is, the projects up to 5,000 crore. If an Australian company wants to invest in India up to 5,000 crore, then the role of FIPB is there. Okay, and Arun Jaitley will have a final call. More than that, it requires cabinet approval. That is the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. So if a company wants to invest more than 5,000 crore in India, it has to take the permission of Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. This investment has to be ratified by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. Now FIPB is no more there, right? It has recently been abolished. Now there are both advocates and adversaries to this decision. Do we really require FIPB? Not really, because 90% of investment that is coming into India as FDI is coming from automatic route, and FIPB as such has no role to play in automatic route. So it is only in 10% of the investment that FIPB had a role, if at all. Now 90% is already coming through automatic route. What does it show? It shows that the present government is very, very FDI friendly, because it wants to position India in the global scenario as an economic superpower. So we have to make sure that there are as less impediments or as less obstructions to FDI inflow in India as possible. So this government is very, very liberal when it comes to trade, and we need more liberal policies if we are to become an economic superpower. So therefore, FIPB has been done away with, and also it was an interministerial body, which means that the file will be transferred from one ministry to another, and so there was all kinds of delay, bureaucracy, red tape used to set in. So that is one of the the people who say FIPB is good, it is no more there. So it is good, but there is a criticism also that some are saying that the alternative that you have given is not very sound. So let me tell you what is the alternative. So one alternative that was suggested was that Reserve Bank of India would serve as the nodal agency. That instead of FIPB, the file will go to directly Reserve Bank of India, because one argument given was that, see, if any foreign company is investing in India, it anyways has to go to RBI, because it has to show its all the foreign exchange reports. So if it goes to RBI, it can also take decision, permission from RBI. But this was not what the government decided. RBI is no more the nodal agency. It was never the nodal agency. There was no effort from the government to make RBI the nodal agency. Now, one criticism was that maybe government is worried that RBI can become very powerful, and I mean all the things like that. But again, it's nothing like that. The government was simply that, whichever file comes, send it to the concerned ministry. For example, if there is a proposal from a country that we want to invest in your defense, after the cabinet approval, send it to the Ministry of Defense. So now what will happen is the file will be transferred to the concerned ministries, and there will be no foreign investment promotion board. Now what happens in the developed countries? What happens in America? What happens in Canada? What happens in other countries? There is no foreign investment promotion board, and what they say is that any investment is welcome as long as it satisfies the national interest. If any investment it hurts national interest, then of course it will be blocked. That is what is the funda that most of the advanced countries in the world follow. So India should also follow something like this, that okay, every investment is welcome, but it should not harm our national interest. So there has to be some mechanism. There has to be some checks and balances, some institutional mechanisms to make sure that we do a thorough screening of the fund that is coming to India. Now, what are the new rules? Now, please note that there are only 11 sectors in India which are remaining, which require the permission of the government. So this government is really, really liberal, when it comes to FDI. Now, as I said, FDI proposals will be approved by the concerned ministries after the approval by the cabinet. And also, one more thing, what will happen to the files that are already present with the FIPB? So they will be sent to the concerned ministries. So the old files also, and now the new files from now on will be sent to the concerned ministries. Only thing is that if there is any proposal related to the security, it has to be approved by the Home Ministry. That is the only thing, because Home Ministry is after all the ministry that is responsible for maintaining the internal security in the country. Now, before I sign off and wish you good luck for the exams, let's quickly revise the all the rates. So repo rate, it is also called the repurchase rate. The only difference between repo rate and bank rate is that bank rate is for long term, repo rate is for short term. So repo rate is 6.25% and bank rate is 6.5%. Reverse repo rate is 6%. Repo rate has been unchanged for the last 3 bi-monthly monetary policy reviews. Reverse repo rate is one of the ways to eliminate money from the system by Reserve Bank of India, where it takes money from the bank for a certain interest. Marginal standing facility is when a bank requires overnight lending facility from RBI against securities, that is 6.5%. Cash reserve ratio is 4%. It has been unchanged since 2013. Cash reserve ratio is another way, just like reverse repo rate, to remove some of the money from the system by Reserve Bank of India, where the banks have a compulsion to keep 4% in cash with the Reserve Bank of India. And statutory liquidity ratio is when the banks need to invest in the government securities in any form, cash, bonds, etc. 20.50%. So these are the very, very important parameters that you have to remember. One will be surely asked in the exam. And these are our some of the targets. For example, our medium term target for retail inflation is 4%. This is very, very important. And inflation projection by the government is this. So now the new fiscal has started, 2017-18. First 6 months, that is till 1st of October, our inflation will be around 4.5%. That is the inflation projection. And from October to March of next year, so from 1st October 2017 to 31st March 2018, inflation projected is 5%. And gross value added growth projection is unchanged, that is 7.4% for this year. So this was the video, and I hope you liked the video. This was part 2. And if you do both of these parts, I think this is more than enough for May 2017. And also not from now on, all the future banking awareness videos I will make for you. And also some people were requesting that, I should make again all the videos of March and April and all that. See, it's not possible because of time constraints. I'm already very, very occupied with the UPSC pendrive courses. And also the thing is that I think Karishma Sahu has done a phenomenal job. The thing is that I know it's little difficult to accept a new faculty, and also you are used to my voice and my kind of style. So that was the only thing. But I think I myself screened her videos and I think they were really, really good. So most of the comments were positive. And but from now on, I'll make all the videos for the coming exam. And for IBPS PO, I will make some special videos which will have summary of the months like March, April, in which I could not make the videos. So thanks for watching and keep supporting StudyIQ.